Welcome to another episode of Soap Thing Thoughts. Joining me today is Lawrence of Uncle L Shaves in Australia. Welcome to the Soap Thing Project.
Hi. Hi, Ben. How you been?
Oh, I've been fantastic, sir. How about you?
Pretty good. Getting some good summer weather down here.
That's
Down
good.
under, as they say.
It's kind of a funny thing where we finally have two people who are both outside of the United States for a change. So let's appreciate this moment. So, how did you get started in wet shaving on camera with a YouTube channel? What prompted you to do something like that?
Well, I've been DE or traditional shaving for probably 9 years now. So back in what was it March? I think it was in 21, a couple of years ago. I was looking around on the YouTube, looking for channels that showed up Australian products, and I couldn't find any. There was a couple of Australians doing some YouTube videos, but shaving videos, but they weren't doing much Australian products. They might do one in about 3 months, And I said, well, that's not very good. So I talked to my friends, and they said, oh, why don't you do it? I said, oh, God, I'm not very good in front of a camera. Uh, and I decided, well, why not? If it doesn't work out, I can delete the video.
Right. No, as you
And
upload more and
so,
more videos, you kind of evolve, so to speak.
yeah, you kind of evolve. It started off, pretty rough video, and then didn't talk much. And I do better with prompting. So when I'm just in front of the camera and no one's talking to me, uh, I can't sort of bounce back.
Right,
You're talking to me, I can bounce back on your words. So
right.
that's anyway. That's how I started. Because I couldn't see any other channels doing what I was doing, which was promoting Australian gear. And at the time, or when I started collecting artisan soaps and brushes and things, um, I started looking at Aussies first. So, because I'm an Aussie, so I collected quite a few. I don't know if you can see behind me over on this side here,
Yeah, I see that.
the I think, yeah, second top shelf is all Australian products.
Right. As
There'd
long
be
as we're
probably 50 or so there.
as long as we're talking about Australian products, what are some of the more, in your opinion, important brands that you think people should know about?
Well, it used to be Blue Devil, but unfortunately, he got too sick to produce his product anymore. And I would call that the best soap that ever came out of Australia so far. And that's in my opinion, or from one of the ones I've tested. I've tested quite a few. Uh, and other than that, Squadron is a name I like. It's also the first Australian artisan I started to collect. I've got, I'll show you this label. Take it off the shelf, as they say.
Yeah, that's fine.
Um, so that's the one I used last week. Squadron,
Yeah,
and he and all these labels are this World War II comic um, theme, commando theme on the label.
yeah, I saw that. That's some nice work he's doing there.
Yeah, it's not a top soap, right? But he does a good job with the labels and the scents. They're normally pretty unique. He does his own scents. Um, yeah. And the one after that, I probably would be Whispers from the Woods. I think you can actually buy some of that in America.
Whispers from the Woods. I've never heard of that. That's an interesting name.
I saw it on West Coast Shaving site one time. Uh, they have a label like that,
Oh, I see.
and that's a nice label on that one. Pomelo, sort of that orangey smell, sweet orange scent. That's a nice one, actually.
Yeah. I'll have to see if West Coast Shaving still has any of those.
Yeah,
Um,
again, not a nothing to compare to like A&E or any of those others, but they're a soap that does the job. In Australia, they're economical. I think they're $25 Australian. I don't know what that is, and probably by the time it gets to US, it's $25 US anyway
right.
because of the
Well, I mean,
postage. And
it just goes to show you that most established places on Earth are going to have brands that are local to them. Like you can go
yeah,
to
there's not a
most
lot.
countries in Europe and they got shaving soap brands. You know, Australia obviously has one.
Uh,
A lot
yeah,
of
but there's
Asian
not a lot.
countries probably have stuff. You just got to go find it.
Yeah, well, Peter's, of course, is starting up over there. So Peter from A&E, he's
Yeah, I
got to
did hear
start up
about that.
in
That's a big move.
he start up in where is it? Philippines. He's
Yeah,
got a factory started up there,
yeah,
trying to
I
sort
heard
of
about that.
supply the local market.
He's definitely making moves over there in the Asian market. That's crazy. Well, the
Mm.
topic of the day for this particular episode is legacy soaps. A legacy soap is anything that predates mainstream artisan soap making. So Mitchell's Wolfat, Tabac, Cella, Prorazzo, Leah, Taylor of Old Bond Street, things like that. We're just going to talk about a little bit about our personal experiences with those and where we think they fit into the current hobby and the community that's dominated by artists and soap making. So, what are your personal experience with some of these products?
As I said before, I started wet shaving 9 years ago. Back then, I didn't know anything about artisan soaps, and I didn't know anything about artisan soaps until 2020. Even though they've been around, I didn't know about them because the shops I was buying my soaps from, they only had things like Tobbs and Cellar and tobacco, the legacy soaps. And to this day, it has changed a little bit. But to buy, like I said, an Australian soap, you can't buy it from a shaving shop. You have to know Squadron exists, right? You can't go to a shaving online store and say, and look down all the soaps, look for all Australians. There won't be any, right? They don't,
Right.
they don't support it. And the amount of artisan soaps, even in Australian stores, is very small. Uh, you might get some PAA in one store, and A&E in another store. It's scattered
Yeah,
and not
hit and
very
miss
many.
whenever they can get something in.
Yeah. So you can always get legacy soaps. So when I started, I got all of them. I got the back, I got DR Harris, Cella, Parasso, Truefit and Hill. I got them all. But and the reason I have them is because that's what the shops were selling, and
Right.
mostly still do in Australia. So we're actually different to America. We don't have a maggots. We don't have a TRC, West Coast Shaving. We don't have a big store like that as multiple brands of artisan soaps. We have more legacy soaps than we do artisan soaps. Whereas in
Yeah,
America, it'd
that
be
makes
complete
sense.
opposite.
Not all of the artisan soap makers have the ability to push their products abroad, and even when you do, there's supply chain complications that make it not always easy to maintain stock. Whereas like Prorazo Red, for example, I mean, almost anybody can get that on Amazon anywhere in the world. And when you search, you know, any kind of retailer website for shaving soap, this is likely to be one of the first things that comes up. So, same thing with something like Arco. You know, that's going to
Mm-hmm.
be one of the first things that comes up. And tobacco. Really, I got the tobacco stick that I use frequently.
And
And so I
Tob's
think,
very hot in the Australian stores. You can buy that in just about any shaving store in Australia, online or walk in. The other
yeah,
ones, not so much. Like, Truth in the Hill has probably got good representation here, but the other ones are scattered. Like DR Harris, I think there's only one or two shops. And what's the other one? Yeah, other COF Trumper or Geo to Trumper.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
it's you guys
but we
probably
can
have
get
it better than
Stella.
we do because like in America, most like very few places you can just walk in and pick up a shaving product like this. Like it's gotten to where even the most common stuff like Taylorville Bond Street and Prorazo, you got to get that online. You can't even get it in most stores unless you're going to really do some driving, and then you got to know it's there already. Um,
Yeah.
so there's not a likelihood of a chance encounter where you're just going to walk in and encounter this stuff. But when a lot of people in the US get curious about traditional shaving, the first place they're going to go is onto Amazon. And what are they going to discover first? Well, I guess today they might discover Zingari Man because Zingari Man is all over Amazon and
But only
Barrister
in
Man is all over
America.
Amazon. But for the most part, they're going to discover Taylorville Bond Street and Perazzo is what is going to be presented to them first.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's just in Australia, you're not likely to actually get much artisan soaps on Amazon. That's the Australian Amazon. Um, they don't show much artisan soaps at all. You'll get Tobs or Parasso, or you might get Truth and Hill. Cella, yeah, you get Cella or Cella. How is it pronounced? I think some people say Cella. I think it's Cella, isn't it? Anyway,
I don't
and
know.
you'll get tobacco, and you'll get. I mean, in Australia, tobacco you used to be able to buy that on the corner store. And so those days have disappeared, though.
That's
It
crazy
might come
how
back actually.
things how things evolve like that. How difficult is it to get artisan products out there? I imagine it's probably expensive because it has to ship a long way.
Well, the online stores are doing better, like Maggots and TRC, the razor company. They're doing better deals with their postage, but it is a bit like snail postage. So can take 2 months to get here in the
Wow.
current climate. I got an order, like I'm still waiting for my Black Friday orders.
Oh my goodness.
So that's back in November, right? I haven't got my Black Friday order yet from the razor company. I'm not blaming razor company. That's
Yeah,
just the
that's
postage.
not their fault.
Yes, yeah,
Um,
that's just the way it is.
yeah,
And
I thought
also the
too.
problem with the
I'm sorry,
flights
go ahead.
from Australia to America, a lot of them are being cancelled all the time because of the flight problems. And so the postage takes longer and longer and longer to get here because they put it on the plane and then it gets cancelled. They take it off again and it has to get reissued. It goes around in
Right.
circles. Anyway,
No, I thought that 2 weeks was bad for it to go from the U.S. to a military base, 2 3 weeks. But no,
luxury.
I've had, you've talked about it just now about how it can take 2 months. I mean, and then fellas like Sig Solo, he'll have something,
Three
burn
months.
laps around the Atlantic Ocean 3 4 5 times before it gets to him.
Yeah, I heard him on the last video say one was it? It took how long? How many trips did you say? 7 trips around the Atlantic.
Yeah, because they couldn't figure out where it was supposed to go. I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand why it is they do the things they do, but that's
Mm.
just how it is. Um,
It is. And it's not just American Post. Australian Post does the same thing. They send it across the other side of Australia and then they bring it back again just to go 100 kilometres.
yeah.
It seems to be a common occurrence.
Personally, my first experience was with legacy products was what was that brand called? Knightsbridge Signature. That was the very first shaving soap I bought online was Knightsbridge Signature. And I actually
Don't know that
didn't
one.
use it for very long before I got deployed to southern Spain for 6 months. And that's when I was able to physically walk into shaving stores and I discovered Leah and Latoha. And
Hmm.
for several years, that's what I used. I used Leah and Latoha pretty religiously. And I was in that funny space where it's like, I'm actually saving money. This is cheaper than shaving with cartridge razors. And I'm active duty US military, so I got to shave every day. And I was actually saving money. And then one day, that artisan itch just exploded like a ton of dynamite on Looney Tunes, just kaboom. And I was
That
into
was a
the,
COVID thing for me.
what's that?
I just started on artisan soaps and then COVID started. And then we were all locked in our rooms and I said, well, what else can we do? We can order soaps.
Yeah, I mean,
So
you got
I
nothing but
accumulated
time.
lots of soap very quickly. Nothing else to do.
Yeah, I can see that. So what would you say what are the products that are the hardest to get? Not necessarily the most time consuming, but it's just like I gotta really search if I'm gonna find somebody willing to ship this to me.
I don't look for those products. So if something's hard to ship to me or that you can't find it or can't find it in a vendor that's going to ship to Australia, I just don't get it. So
Right.
I think it's more, it was at one stage, I think it was, I can't remember the name. I'll get the jar off. Oh, yeah, there it is. Shannon's. At one stage, I couldn't find Shannon's anywhere, but that's since resolved. A lot of the online stores in America, like I think it comes from Maggots have it on their system, I think, and certainly the razor company do, and they both have pretty good deals with postage to Australia. So I'm not sure because I'm a I'm a person who looks for soaps in a budget range, um, below $20 American
Right.
for a
Which
soap, and
which you
that's
can still find a lot of.
America. So I go I go by the price in America, and that I said if the price is $20 or less, that's the sort of soap I'm looking for. Some just to sort of scrape at the top there,
Right.
like A&E and Barrister and Mann, which I collect. But yeah, so I'm more like a Sterling Man and Katie's Bubbles and
Right.
that sort of price range. Soap Commander, which I just did a video today on Soap Commander.
So
Um,
you find yourself looking for less expensive products that are kind of in the path of least resistance, the stuff that you can get easily.
yes, yeah. So, but
What?
they don't have many on the store, I probably wouldn't look for them.
What
Like it's
what artisan?
I look for the titles first, and then I say, "Oh, is that a brand I would like to collect?" And so I don't do it the other way around. I don't see a video and say, "Oh, I must get that soap." It's the other way around. I look at the soap brands and say, "Is that in my price range first?" And then I say, "Do they have lots of those soaps around? Is there a lot of support? Are they going to can be here in 5 years' time? Is there some expectation of them staying around?"
Right. So you really put some thought into it. You're kind of budget minded. Is it a stable brand?
Yeah.
Is it something that's
It's
a bit
it's probably
less
how I
expensive?
started with the shaving. Like you said, you started on the low end, then built. Then once you went to the artisan, which went through the roof. Whereas I went from starting at the low end, and I did that for 5 years. I actually saved money for 5 years, and then at the beginning of just even before COVID started, I started to get into the artisan soaps, and then of course then it exploded. But I was always budget conscious. I had a price level. Even though I like PAA soaps, I said, "Oh, now they're $46 Australian here. You buy them locally. You know, I can get two. Well, that's a fact. I can get uh, this for the same price as PAA
For those of you who couldn't
CK6.
see, that's a Saponificio Veracino, which is in America is about double the price of PAA, but he can get it for about the same price in Australia.
If not less.
That's
Actually, it's
crazy.
less.
That's
For
is
about
good stuff
$6
too.
less. Yeah. And of course, that'll last probably 3 times longer than PAA CK6 in a hard soap. Triple
Isn't that
mill.
triple milled?
Yeah, it is triple mill. Italian one. You're probably aware of that, of course.
Yeah,
Uh,
I figured it was. I just want to double check.
I only worked that out the other day. I said, why am I buying PAA CK6? Well, I'm not buying PAA CK6. If I buy PAA, it would be a CK1, which don't actually get to Australia into the stores anyway. So
Right.
I have to buy that from America. And that's probably cheaper for me to buy from America and import it than a store and buying from a store in Australia anyway, because they don't seem to add the 10% tax when I import it from America, which is good. England have a lot of problem with their tax. They
Yeah,
get
and
taxed about
then
3 times to
funny how
import
that shakes
something.
out. So So legacy soaps, we've established that that's kind of the stepping stone for most people who get into this. They tend to buy what shows up on their search bar first and what is easy to get and consistent to get. Like in America, you can get Perazzo to your doorstep in 2 days. Good luck
Yeah,
getting an artisan to do that. And
I
so
can walk
people
in
who
a
tend to go to
store.
that spot first to just get the ball rolling, and then they discover artisan stuff later after they've been watching YouTube videos and
Yeah,
just poking around the internet and things like that.
yeah.
My question to you is: once you discovered artisan shaving products, which one would you say has impressed you the most recently?
Recently, now you're making me think. I'll just
Or even since you got started, which one has impressed you the most since you got into it?
well, for value, because I'm a value orientated person. For value, you can't go past Sterling. Even in Australia, there's a Sterling store in Australia specifically only sells Sterling, and I can buy Sterling, like you said, I can get it in 2 days, shipped to me direct to my door. That's that's the most impressive one for me because there's a store I can go to. I can get also splashes and balms and everything. They have all the things that they normally have in Sterling.
Yeah, I
Sure,
gotta.
they won't have the full range, but they've got a good range.
That's good. I wish more of those Sterling stores were in other places. I got a big batch of Sterling products coming to me. I'm late to the game on Sterling for some reason. I had a couple of soaps from them, but recently, since I've been here in Turkey, my interest in using Sterling products has just blown up, and so I've got a lot more of that showing up than any other single brand. And you're right, Sterling is one of those brands that, love it or hate it, they cannot be ignored because you get so much soap for so little money, and it's very good soap. Like I don't understand people who are like complaining about the quality. I've never had any issues with Sterling. I think people who want to gripe about like Shannon soaps or Sterling soaps or other soap bases like Katie's Bubbles that have been around for a long time and haven't changed. They're just looking for an excuse to complain because they haven't changed. Well, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. I mean,
Oh,
I've had my own reservations about other brands constantly redoing their soap base, and it seems to me that they only have these small incremental improvements when they sunk a lot of money into trying to make this immense change, and it didn't shake out that way, at least in my opinion. But Sterling
yeah.
is hard to beat. What's what would you say is your favorite Sterling soap?
Um, Deep Blue Sea.
Interesting. That's actually one of their best sellers. I have a Deep Blue Sea back in the States. That's their Blue
One of
Dish
the
Chanel.
first Sterling ones I bought, actually. I just liked the description on the scent, and then actually, when I got it, it was wonderful. Love it.
Yeah, that's the Blue de Chanel dupe that
Yeah.
I think Sterling did an interview uh either last year, maybe a year and a half ago, where they said they were very surprised that it sold as well as it did because it came out as a Black Friday soap, and it sold way better than they thought it would, and so they re-released it as a general release, and according to them, it's either number four or number five on their greatest hits list every month of the year. So
And well, on my greatest hits, I don't have a big selection. I got two, four, six, seven, I think, tubs of Sterling.
I'm catching up with you.
Well, that's more than any other overseas brand I have. So, yeah. Although Shannon's might be catching up.
Yeah, Shannon's is wonderful stuff. I have a particularly I have a particular soft place in my heart for Shannon soaps because they're one of the first brands I discovered when I started getting into artisan soaps. It was through the Fire Fine Craft, which sadly doesn't make soap anymore, and then
Hmm.
it was Shannon soaps was number two. So so Shannon soaps is not leaving my collection anytime soon. Well, Lawrence, it's getting close to time for us to get out of here. What advice can you give, words of wisdom can you give to new wet shavers or members of the community who haven't been here very long?
Hmm. Start small. Use one razor, one brush, maybe a couple of soaps, and learn the technique first. Get the technique right. Took me a long time to get my technique right, but it'll happen. Just take your time. Took me five
Yeah,
years.
yeah, you're not wrong. It took me a couple of years of less than satisfying shaves to really dial in uh my shaving habits because at first I thought, well, it was I'm just not using the right products. No, the problem was I wasn't shaving my face properly. And I think when a lot of people hear, all the good things about coming over to using a double-edged razor and double-edged blades and shaving soap and things like that, I think a lot of people don't give it an honest run. They try it just once and then they cut themselves safe shaving. Like, nope, nope. Because their baseline is that they're not cutting themselves with these expensive cartridge razors. Well, you know,
I did.
yeah. I mean, so I think a lot of people who switch to safety razors often have to have a very compelling reason to do it because otherwise they're going to try it just once, give it half-assed effort, and then walk away. So, but the truth is, in order to even fully understand what you're doing, you need to give it 2 weeks of shaving that way. 5 days a week, so 10, even 15 shaves before you can even kind of vaguely understand what it is that you're even doing. And
Yeah.
not everybody is willing to give it that kind of honest effort. It's just what it is, but we do our best. We try to to give people lessons and pointers about how to make it work the best for you as fast as possible. And sometimes we get people into the community, and sometimes we don't. That's just how it is.
Yeah. You got to be willing to experiment. Once you got your technique sort of right, you got to then start to experiment. Otherwise, you can't find the optimal shave. Um, if you just stay with the same one, you might be getting rough shaves all the time, and that could be the hardware, right? I mean, you could pick up a Wishi or something like that, and you know, okay, it might give you an okay shave, but it's no Rockwell success.
Right? There's better fish to fry. Well, let's go ahead and do the frag out and get the heck out of here. What have you got?
Well, I don't think you've mentioned Boucheron.
I
Boucheron
don't think I've
is
ever heard of that brand before. What is that? Let's talk about it.
a French company, a classy French company. I like their frags, and it's a spicy Oriental spicy. I think it's classed that.
Interesting. I might have to look
The
that one
wonderful
up.
scent. I call it six in a bottle. It's the best scent I have in my collection, and it's not
That's
even that expensive. You probably can pick that up for about $50, right? 100 ml.
really. I'm gonna have to look into that then. Well,
Boucheron.
the one I've got is the Smiles for Miles Elixir 3, which is oud, rose, and sandalwood. So let's go ahead and spray this stuff on. Why don't we? Wonderful
My wife
stuff.
will jump on me. Oh yeah,
Great
oh,
stuff. Well, it's been nice
it's a bit like a more sophisticated Old Spice, if you
more
want a sort of
sophisticated Old Spice.
comparison.
That's the way people tend to describe Creed Viking, is that it smells like Old
I
Spice,
have no
but
idea. I can't afford that stuff, so wouldn't know.
no. I might have to send you a sample of it's Murphy and McNeil Gale Lock, which is a Creed Viking dupe. I might have to send it you get a sample of it there to you so you can check it out because it's I feel like it's something that'd be right up your alley.
It's a softer scent than Old Spice. That's why I feel it's more sexy. It's got that vibe of you know if your grandpa didn't wear this, you wouldn't be a bit here today, type thing.
Yeah, I'll have to check that one out. That sounds like it'd be good stuff. Well, Lawrence, I want to thank you for coming on here and taking time out of your day to come on the show and talk to me. It's cool to get to talk to somebody who's outside of the U.S. and maybe has a little bit different experiences on what they're able to find and what they're able to use because we in America are spoiled with all these razors and all these soaps, and not all of them are easy to reach in other parts of the world. So I think it's important that we draw attention to that.
Yeah, it's true.
It is true. Well, that'll be the video for today. I want to thank everybody for watching. Until next time, this is Soap Thing telling you, shave like you mean it. Thanks for watching.